Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. Alright, we have a question that came in today, and this one is from Jay Perriman, and Jay says, I've been using the PPGS now for about 3 years. I've written you a couple of times about my putting and chipping, and you have straightened out my putting and my chipping. Thank you for that. I am 72 years old and play golf about 3 times a week, but I have a lingering problem that pops up every now and then, and I hope the Master Pro can help me. Every now and then I start pulling the ball left. I always check my alignment and grip and club alignment, and that is always good. To compensate for this, all right, let me say that again. To compensate, C-O-M-P-E-N-S-A-T-E, to compensate for this, I have learned to close my stance, and this makes the problem go away. I may go for 2 or 3 rounds with my stance closed at address until I start hitting the ball to the right. And then I go back to my normal stance and everything is okay for a while. I believe when I get to the mitt and up the tree, I am pushing the club outside and this causes the pull. It is not a duck hook or even a hook. It is about 20 to 30 foot pull offline. The golf course I play has narrow long greens and accuracy is a must. Do you have an exercise that will help going straight up the tree instead of outside the tree? One note here, I can't close my stance on the sand wedge or the pitching wedge or I leave the ball to the right. Jim Perriman, Southern California. Okay, Jim. Notice I kept emphasizing the word compensate. Anytime you start compensating for something, all you are doing is that you're opening up the doors to more problems. Let me just refresh you on rule number 5. Peak Performance Swing Surgeon rule number 5. If you hit a bad shot and you wonder you ask yourself, what did I do wrong? The answer is, who cares? Do the next one correctly. Correctly means you go back to your peak performance swing surgeon, set up and swing. All the fundamentals of the peak performance setup and swing, you go back to those. And one of the fundamentals is to not walk into the ball with a closed stance. All right? Because if you walk into the ball with a closed stance and you start making really good swings as you experience, you're going to be hitting the ball to the right. Okay? And now all of a sudden, right wasn't in the equation before. It was just left. So now you got right in there. And then as soon as you go back and you go back to your correct stance, you start hitting the pulls again. All right? So I think we should know here by now, it's the stance that's the problem. But let me just say a couple things about normally. Let's assume you're aiming to the right. You've changed your stance and your stance is closed, okay? So at this point, you're effectively, with a parallel stance, you're effectively aimed out to the right. As you can see, this is my ball line, is nowhere near the target. But you still want to hit the ball to the target, okay? So I think this is pretty close to being at the target. All right, we put the plumb bob on it, and sure enough, I can't see the camera anymore. All right, so as long as you are staying aimed out here, and to make a parallel swing from parallel right of your toe line, if your toes, knees, hips, and shoulders are correct, you'd hit the ball way out there to the right. So, but you want the ball to go to the flag, which is down this line to the inside. Okay, so what do you got to do? So if you're standing here and you're trying to swing to that target, hit the ball straight, you got to swing up and down that line. Because the only way a ball can go relatively straight, it has to be on, square, and solid. It has to approach the ball in the aiming line, strike it on the line, and be square, and leave on the line accelerating. And hit it solid in a sweet spot while doing the first 3. Remember, that's the law that messes everything up. Because nobody's ever asked me to hit a 30-yard hook or a 30-yard slice. The only people that are doing those two are doing what? Their stance is out and they're playing, and that's the shot they're getting and they're playing for it. But at some point, you can't even control that. Okay? So if you're standing here and you're trying to hit this in a straight line, most people, even if they don't know intellectually the on, and square and solid rule, which is the law of physics, they know, their brain figures out that they got to swing straight in line to that flag to try to get it to go there. And so I think that's probably where, when you got your stance to the right, why the club is going outside. And why is it going outside? Because basically what you've done is, look at my shoulders. My shoulders, you start to open up your shoulders so you can swing straight down the line. Because if your shoulders are here and you swung straight down the line, it's going to go right all day. So eventually the golfers start opening up their shoulders, so they can take the club more down the line. When they open up their shoulders, their back arm, the right arm for righty, left arm for lefty, gets high, and that's going to make it go out there. Because if you kept in a massive setup position, it would still, even if you're open, it's still going to come back inside the line and pretty much set you up to swing dead straight out to the right. Probably not as much as if you were perfectly, had your shoulders directly over your toes, but it's still probably going to cause it. So that's why you're swinging outside the line. So the whole key is not to compensate. Compensation is nothing but just opening up another can of worms, and it's just nothing but problems. You have to go back and live by rule number 5, and that probably is the most important rule, because our eyes are always going to fake us out into alignment and cause alignment problems, and no matter what, our body, you're going to be a little bit sore today, a little bit achy, a little bit tired, and so you could get a little sloppy in setting up to the ball a little bit, and you're just not swinging with the same energy you have, so that your muscle tone isn't the same, and so your body can start losing its timing sequence. The proper timing is the proper sequential movement of the parts of the body, and it can mess up what is known as the kinematic chain, where everything's supposed to move in the right sequence at the right time, and it can mess all it up. I mean, it can be anything, all right? And just too many things on your mind, and you're not paying enough attention to your details. But when you hit that bad shot, or things are going bad, and you say, what did I do wrong? The answer is, who cares? Do it right. Rule number 5. Live by rule number 5. Rule number 5 doesn't say compensate. It says do it right. Do it correctly. So you go back to your peak performance golf swing, setup, and swing fundamentals. All right? That's in the that's in the foundation manual. It's talked about in all our videos, and you'll never find the word compensate in anything that I've ever written, videotaped, said, or whatever that would be a positive comment about compensation. Because compensation, again, is nothing but just opening the door to more problems. All right? Rule number 5. When I think you're doing something wrong, the answer is, who cares? Do it correctly. Go back to your peak performance fundamentals of setup and swing, and you will eradicate your problem that way. And the big thing we're after is, when you do it right and keep continually doing it right, when you do have some little issues, they're minor mistakes, they're good misses. And golf's a game of misses. He or she who misses best wins. Okay, so let's eradicate compensation. Don't ever want to compensate. You want to play by rule number 5. Do it right, do it correctly. All right, that's it for the Surge for today. But the only way to play is by the rules, rule number 5. And that's it for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.